5 years ago, my life took a devastating turn that I never could have imagined. I was just 17 years old, days away from taking my driver's license test, excited about the freedom that was within reach. But everything changed in an instant. That day, I had asked my stepmom for permission to take the car for a short drive around the neighborhood to practice. My dad had always been strict about making sure I asked before using the car, so I made sure to follow the rules. She gave me the green light, and I set off, never expecting that this simple drive would lead to the most painful experience of my life, both physically and emotionally. Out of nowhere, a drunk driver slammed into the back of my car. The impact was so violent that everything blurred in a whirlwind of pain and panic. I barely remember being taken to the hospital, but what I do remember is the excruciating pain that followed. The injuries were severe. I was completely bedridden for 3 months. Every movement sent sharp, unbearable pain through my body. I couldn't sit up, I couldn't walk, and at times, I could barely even breathe without agony. But as terrible as the physical pain was, it wasn't the worst part. The real devastation came from the betrayal that followed. While I was lying in that hospital bed, helpless and vulnerable, my stepmom did something unimaginable. She twisted the story of what had happened, telling my dad that I had taken the car without permission, that I had stolen it to go hang out with friends, just to look cool. It was a complete lie. I had done everything right, yet she painted me as reckless and irresponsible. And my dad believed her. He never even asked for my side of the story. He never once considered that she might be lying. Instead, while I was still healing, still unable to even stand on my own, he kicked me out of the house. I was just a teenager, recovering from a life-altering accident, and I had nowhere to go. The truth is, my stepmom and I never had a great relationship. She came into my life when I was 5 years old, after my biological mother had left. My mom had completely abandoned me. She signed away her parental rights and never looked back. So, for most of my childhood, it was just me and my dad. At first, when he started dating my stepmom, things seemed fine. She wasn't exactly warm, but she was polite enough. Over time, though, it became clear that she had no real interest in being a mother to me. She wasn't cruel outright, but she also wasn't loving. She was just there, my father's wife, nothing more. Looking back, I don't know why she lied about me taking the car. Maybe she wanted me out of the picture. Maybe she didn't like the idea of my dad caring for me while I recovered. Or maybe she just wanted to create drama. Whatever her reasons, her lie cost me everything. I went from being a normal teenager, excited about my future, to being alone, in pain, and without a home. The person who was supposed to protect me, my own father, chose to believe a lie over his own child. That accident didn't just leave scars on my body. It left scars on my heart. It changed the way I saw people, the way I trusted, and the way I moved forward in life. It was the moment I truly understood that family isn't always about blood. It's about who stands by you when you need them the most. And in my darkest moment, my family turned their backs on me. But I survived. I healed. And I learned that even in the worst situations, I had to find my own strength. I had to keep going, even when the people I loved had given up on me. And that's exactly what I did. As I got older, my relationship with my stepmom got worse. We argued a lot, mostly over small and unimportant things. But no matter what, she always took things too far and complained to my dad about me. He always took her side, which only made things harder for me. By the time the accident happened, I was just a few months away from leaving for college. I was excited to move out and get away from all the tension at home. But after the accident and my stepmom's lies, everything fell apart. My dad didn't want me around anymore, so I had to move in with my grandparents. It wasn't about money. My dad was wealthy. He owned his own paper company and had insurance to cover both the car and our family's needs. The only reason he kicked me out was because my stepmom filled his head with lies. She told him that she had overheard me talking about sneaking out with friends to impress them and that she had warned me not to take the car, but I supposedly ignored her. None of it was true. I was already going through so much pain from the accident, both physically and emotionally, but her lies made everything even worse. For a whole week, I tried to convince my dad of the truth, but he refused to listen. No matter how much I explained, he chose to believe her. I finally lost my patience. In frustration, I yelled at my stepmom, calling her a liar. I told her she was jealous and wanted my dad all to herself. But no matter what I said, nothing changed. Now, 5 years have passed and my relationship with my dad is still not the same. We barely talk. Recently, though, he and my stepmom invited me to their vow renewal ceremony. After everything they put me through, I don't know how to feel about it. I haven't forgotten the pain they caused me during one of the hardest times of my life. After the accident left me bedridden, my father and I reached a breaking point. I was in terrible shape, unable to move without extreme pain, yet instead of supporting me, he chose to send me away. His decision was completely influenced by my stepmom's lies. Now, I'm left wondering, can I ever forgive them? And do I even want to? A father's betrayal and a choice to walk away. I felt completely betrayed, so I confronted my dad. I told him how much it hurt that he believed my stepmom's lies instead of trusting me, especially when I was in such a vulnerable state. But instead of understanding, he defended his actions. He said I needed discipline and that I couldn't keep disturbing his wife's peace. That was the moment I realized the truth. He had chosen her over me. No matter what I said, he stood by her side and ignored the real story. That realization broke me. In that moment of pain and disappointment, I decided I would never speak to him again. Growing up, it had always been just me and my dad. My stepmom had been around since I was 5, but I never truly felt like she was family. And deep down, I always knew she didn't see me as family either. After everything that happened, I made a decision. I no longer considered either of them my family. To me, family means love and support, and they had shown me neither. My grandparents, on the other hand, took me in with open arms. They made sure I had everything I needed, even hiring a full-time Mary to help with my recovery. They cared for me, comforted me, and made me feel safe. But no matter how much I hoped, my dad stayed distant. He barely visited, always making excuses. For 4 months after the accident, he avoided me. Eventually, my grandparents confronted him about it. That was when he finally admitted the truth. He had no plans to fix our relationship. My stepmom had given him an ultimatum. Choose between her or me. And he chose her. From that point on, we stopped talking. My grandparents, who had always been there for me, supported me in every way, even paying for my college education. As I got closer to graduation, I focused on building a life surrounded by people who actually cared about me, my friends and my grandparents. Their love and support helped me heal and move forward. Years passed without any contact from my dad or stepmom. I had no reason to reach out. I had finally found peace, and I didn't want to let them take that away from me again. An unexpected invitation. But then, out of nowhere, my stepmom reached out. She told me that she and my dad were renewing their vows and wanted me to come. The invitation shocked me, considering everything they had done. It felt completely fake. There was no apology, no attempt to fix our broken relationship, just a sudden request for me to show up as if nothing had ever happened. I immediately declined. It didn't make sense to go and pretend like we were a happy family when they had abandoned me in my time of need. A week later, my stepmom contacted me again, this time with a more urgent message. She said my dad would be personally inviting me soon and that it was very important that I attended. But her reason wasn't about making amends, it was about appearances. She admitted that my dad's business associates would be at the event, and since they had seen pictures of me in his office, they might ask questions if I wasn't there. My absence would make him look bad. She told me it was time to move past the past and let go of the conflicts between us. But how could I just move on when nothing had been fixed? It had only been 5 years since they abandoned me, and in all that time, they never once tried to apologize or make things right. I wasn't ready to forgive, and honestly, I didn't know if I ever would be. Threats and a public response. I ignored my stepmom's message and went on with my day. But after a few hours of silence, she messaged me again. This time, her tone was different, angry and manipulative. She called me ungrateful and claimed I was making a big mistake by ignoring my father's attempt to reconnect. She insisted that I didn't deserve his forgiveness and was only making things worse for myself. Then, her message took a darker turn. She started making threats. She hinted that if I didn't attend the vow renewal, I could lose my future inheritance or any chance of being involved in my dad's business. She even said she would personally make sure I was completely cut off financially. That was the last straw for me. Frustrated and angry at her arrogance, I blocked her number. Until that moment, I hadn't thought it was necessary, but her threats crossed the line. But even that didn't stop her. She switched to email, once again demanding that I accept the invitation. She made it clear that this event wasn't just about family, it was also important for my dad's business. She kept pushing the idea that I had to be there, not because they wanted to make things right, but because it would look bad if I didn't show up. Her messages made me realize something. I was done being bullied and manipulated. If they were so concerned about appearances, I would make sure people saw the truth. Going public. I decided to expose everything. I shared screenshots of our past conversations and wrote a detailed post about everything that had happened over the years. The lies, the betrayal, and now the threats. I made the post public and tagged my father, my stepmom, and some of his business associates who followed me on social media. The response was immediate. The post spread quickly, and people were shocked by what I had been through. My father's reputation took a huge hit, and soon, I heard that a major business deal he had been working on, a possible merger with an office supplies company, was now at risk. Since the deal was still in its early stages, the backlash from my post made the company reconsider working with him. Dealing with the consequences. The day after I made the post, my grandparents told me that my father was devastated. He had suffered a huge professional loss because of the attention my story had brought. Even though my goal had been to speak up about the unfair way I was treated, my actions had affected more than just my stepmom. It had hurt my father's business as well. I felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, I felt justified. I had spent years staying quiet while they mistreated me, and now the truth was finally out. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore the consequences. My grandparents gently told me that my approach might have been too harsh, especially since my father had been dragged into a situation that was mostly between my stepmom and me. As I reflected on everything that had happened, I wondered, had I gone too far? Or was this just the price of finally standing up for myself? A change of perspective. After some thought, I decided to remove my social media post. At the time, it felt right to call out the unfair treatment I had faced, but as I saw the bigger picture, I started wondering if I had handled it the right way. Some people have asked why I still refer to my dad and stepmom as my parents, when it's clear we don't get along. The truth is simple. My dad is my biological father, and my stepmom has been in my life since I was a child. It's just a habit at this point, and I don't really think much about it. It's just easier to say. Now, back to everything that happened. After my post went viral and caused so much backlash, I decided to take it down. Even though many people told me I had every right to stand by it, I still felt the need to reach out to my dad. I didn't apologize, but I explained that I was still deeply affected by everything that had happened 5 years ago. I told him that his attempt to reconnect at the vow renewal seemed fake, like it was just for show, especially with how my stepmom had pressured me and tried to manipulate me. I sent the message without expecting much of a response. After everything that had happened, I wasn't sure he would even bother replying. An unexpected reply. To my surprise, my dad responded calmly. He admitted that he deserved to be called out for what he had done in the past and said he didn't blame me for reacting the way I did. His words caught me off guard. I didn't expect him to acknowledge his mistakes, let alone take responsibility for them. Confused by his response, I went to my grandparents for advice. That's when they told me something I didn't know. My dad had been struggling with guilt for a while. Before I even sent my message, he had already confided in them about his regrets. He admitted that he had been too quick to believe my stepmom's lies and that he now realized how much she had twisted the truth. Then they told me something that changed everything. My stepmom had made it seem like the vow renewal was a big event filled with business associates, but that wasn't true at all. The event was supposed to be small and private, with only close family and friends. My dad had genuinely wanted me there, not for appearances, but because he wanted to reconnect. Facing the truth. This made me realize something. My stepmom had been trying to keep us apart. For years, she had manipulated my dad into believing lies about me. And even now, she was still doing it, making it seem like his invitation was about business, when in reality, it wasn't. When my dad finally saw the truth, it affected him deeply. He realized how much damage had been done, not just between him and me, but in his own marriage as well. The business merger that had been put at risk because of my post? He hadn't heard any updates, and at this point, he assumed it was completely off. But more importantly, he was now dealing with personal turmoil, questioning everything that had happened. Where do we go from here? My grandparents told me they were proud of me, not because I had apologized, which I didn't, but because I had reached out to clarify my feelings. They believe, and I agree, that I don't owe an apology, considering everything that happened. Now, I'm left feeling a mix of emotions. I'm relieved to finally understand my dad's side, and I see that he truly regrets the past. But at the same time, I can't ignore all the pain I went through because of his choices. For the first time in years, I feel like there might be a chance to rebuild something. But whether I can truly forgive him, that's something I'm still figuring out. Finding closure and moving forward. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about reconnecting with my dad and what it means for our family moving forward. My stepmom's actions caused a lot of confusion, and while my reaction may have seemed harsh to some, I only did what anyone else in my position might have done. But instead of shutting the door completely, I chose to reach out to my dad and try to mend things. My grandparents appreciated that, but dealing with all these emotions after years of silence hasn't been easy. After I share my story on social media, many people advised me to cut ties with my father completely. But that doesn't feel right to me, especially now that I've reopened communication. There are still so many unresolved issues and unanswered questions. Before I decide whether to walk away again, I feel like I need at least one honest conversation with him, for closure if nothing else. I've decided to trust my own instincts, no matter what others think. My heart tells me that understanding and resolution are more important than holding onto old grudges. When I shared this with my grandparents, they fully supported the idea of having a face-to-face conversation with my dad. They even offered to help arrange the meeting. Changes in my dad's life. Interestingly, things between my dad and my stepmom seem to be falling apart. Despite planning their vow renewal, they might actually be heading for a divorce. The irony isn't lost on me. At the same time, my grandparents have started reconnecting with my dad too. Since they're getting older, they feel it's important to fix strained relationships while they still have time. From what they've told me, my dad is truly remorseful about the past. He doesn't seem to care much about the business merger anymore. Instead, he's more focused on the mistakes he made as a parent. According to my grandparents, he talks a lot about his regrets and how he wishes he had handled things differently. Hearing this has made me see things from a different perspective. While I still have my doubts, knowing that he acknowledges his mistakes opens the door to understanding him better. My grandparents believe a face-to-face conversation could help both of us heal, and I'm cautiously hopeful about it. The meeting that changed everything. 5 days ago, that long-awaited conversation finally happened at my grandparents' house. It was emotional, to say the least. After being apart for so long, finally sitting down and talking about everything felt overwhelming. My dad took the opportunity to sincerely apologize. He admitted that he had failed me as a father and regretted every decision that led to our broken relationship. He told me he was proud of the person I had become, even though he hadn't been there to help me grow. Hearing those words wasn't easy, but it was something I had needed to hear for a long time. Now, as I process everything, I'm still unsure of what the future holds for our relationship. But one thing is clear, this conversation was a step toward healing, even if I don't yet know where the path will lead. A confession and a difficult decision. During our conversation, my father admitted that he had made terrible mistakes, especially in trusting my stepmom over me. He deeply regretted it and explained how she had manipulated him. He never imagined she would lie to him, and by the time he realized the truth, too much damage had already been done. Hearing his confession was a lot to take in. It helped me understand his side of things, but it also made me see how complicated his relationship with my stepmom had been. I hadn't fully realized how much influence she had over him until now. This conversation, though long overdue, has opened a new chapter for us. It gives us a chance to rebuild, and maybe, in time, to forgive. But I'm still processing everything and figuring out what to do next. My grandparents have been my greatest support throughout all of this. As we work through these renewed connections, I remain hopeful, but also cautious. A shocking truth and a divorce. My dad admitted that after he kicked me out, he had started to question his decision. Doubts crept in, but he never found the courage to reach out and fix things. Now, face to face, he told me how sorry he was and made it clear that the next step was up to me. He said he would understand if I chose not to forgive him and wanted to keep my distance because he knew how deeply he had hurt me. Then he shared something unexpected. He and my stepmom were getting a divorce. He told me that after our argument over the vow renewal, he confronted her about all the lies she had told. That conversation quickly escalated, and he realized she had also lied about the car accident from years ago. That was the final straw for him. He asked her to leave and filed for divorce. Time to think. With all this new information, I couldn't make a decision right away. I told him I needed time to think. Right now, I'm in a period of reflection, trying to decide if I should give him another chance. Some people might say I shouldn't, but at the end of the day, he's still my father, and this choice is mine alone. One thing I do know is that my decision won't be influenced by money or dependence. I'm about to graduate from college and start my own career. I won't need financial support from him, so whatever I decide will come from the heart, not from necessity. I also don't think he's trying to reconnect just because he needs someone to rely on as he gets older. His business is still successful, even with the recent setbacks, so I believe his desire to fix our relationship comes from genuine regret, not financial need. But this isn't just about forgiving him. It's about deciding if rebuilding our relationship is even possible. For now, I'm taking things one step at a time, giving our relationship another chance. After thinking a lot about it, I've decided to give my relationship with my dad another chance. Despite everything that has happened in the past few years, I can't ignore all the good memories we shared before things fell apart. Our history isn't just filled with pain, there were happy moments too, and I don't want to throw everything away because of the bad times. To help us move forward, we've decided to go to therapy together. This will help us work through our issues and learn how to communicate better. We are both committed to putting in the effort, hoping to rebuild our relationship and find a way to heal. My grandparents fully support this decision, and for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. Maybe this is my chance to finally have the father-daughter relationship I've always wanted. I'm ready to leave the past behind and focus on creating something healthier and stronger with my dad. This isn't about forgetting the pain, but about choosing to move forward. And I'm ready for that.